Da 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 da. Oh wait, that was a different song. No, I thought you were going for Katamari.
It's alright, we're still going.
Be it in the grim darkness of the far future, or on the blood-soaked battlefields of the old world, a secret cabal of casuals meets under the cover of night to argue about their plastic army men. No local meta is safe, for they are the power creeps.
Good morning, One Warhammer fan.
How you doing, beautiful?
It's us. It's your cool guys. It's the Power Creeps.
We're back in the ring to take another swing.
This is episode 2 from sunny Southern California.
And it's a horrible day outside, so...
Almost too sunny.
Yeah.
Almost too sunny.
And we're in the middle of a blackout, so we're going to keep doing this until the computer dies.
Yeah.
I am your host, Erik, and my fellow hosts.
I'm your pal, Ian. I'm just so pleased you came back.
I'm just here for the coffee.
Yeah. What's your name,
the last
though?
of it?
Oh, I guess I should, Micah.
There's this strange person in the room with us.
We
we don't know who he is.
I snuck in. I just wanted the coffee.
He snuck in and he was like, hey, you guys, can I bring in my Night Lord's army? And we're like, yeah, okay, this is fine.
So this for episode 2, we are going to go into part 2 of our review of the releases for 8th edition.
The upcoming 8th edition leaks and teasers and spoilers and all that good stuff.
And they've still, the Warhammer community has kept up with that. The Warhammer community site has been constantly redoing their releases, and every single day I still get up very excited to see what they're going to talk about.
I had a thought about that the other day. Do you think to some degree this is a way that GW's kind of combating the leak sites?
It could be, but I've always been of the impression that they've been doing strategically planned leaks for forever. That's why all the pictures are always blurry and you only get half of a page and stuff.
I agree with that. I believe you brought this up at one point. So some of the sites that you go to typically, how they usually post spoilers every day. They're having trouble managing the flow of articles every single day.
You mean specifically because of them releasing so much for 8th edition?
Yeah, they're trying to spread their articles out, from day to day so they don't, post too much in one day and miss out on getting a bunch of revenue.
It could be something like that, but I think it's just the Warhammer community site just trying to cement its supremacy.
Yeah.
which it's doing a great job of.
Yeah.
Very quickly become the Warhammer site to go to.
And it makes sense from their end because they're the ones with all the information.
I never had it bookmarked until they started doing this stuff.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I'm glad they're doing it. So without much further ado, we're going to dip right into this because we got a lot to go over. We're going to start it off with the second round of weapon profiles, which I am excited for. Twin-linked weapons now double tap. It's no more re-rolling. It's just you get double the amount of shots,
which is cool.
That's amazing. Do you know how many shots that is on a Land Raider Crusader?
The hurricane pattern.
Yeah, with the hurricane bolters.
Yeah, it's suddenly going to matter again.
Or all those twin linked las cannons on the regular one. Plas Rhinos.
And the Razorbacks and stuff like that are going to become a lot more Rhinos.
Yeah, I know. I fucked that up.
The thing that I think's interesting about it too is there's now a distinction between Mastercrafted and twin linked. Mastercrafted kind of means something again, assuming they do bring it back.
I can't imagine them getting rid of that kind of a rule.
It was not. It became something that you actually had to think about when they reduced it to you get one reroll per round of attacks. It used to be you just get to reroll everything. And that was the case. You put Mastercraft on everything, and now all of a sudden,
because you were getting those rerolls that you needed.
God damn it, Dick! I'm sure that you guys can barely hear that, but since we're in the middle of a blackout, my neighbors are shouting at each other, and my one neighbor, bless his heart, has his generator fired up and is offering us coffee.
Such a nice man.
Nice, considerate people.
I just need to go out and yell at them. We're fucking recording about a game!
I will say it's very entertaining that every time we try to do a podcast, some nonsense is happening. Oh my god, the clap. That's just going to be a joke every time we have to pause.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything else to touch on for twin link weapons?
No, just fuck it.
Yeah, we'll keep going.
Combi weapons are fucking awesome. I am so excited for combi weapons now. The way it used to be is you get one shot, that's it with the combi weapon, and you hit or you miss, and that's it. Now it's either you can shoot with both of the weapons, at -1 to hit for each, or you can choose to shoot one or the other at regular ballistic skill. You have tactical squads with 2 special weapons now, because you can put combi weapons on your sergeants and stuff.
A combi bolter is actually worth taking. It's like, hey, I get 4 shots with this puppy. This puppy.
Stern Guard veterans are so much better now, because now it's just like, I have an entire unit of dudes with melta guns. Go, 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 go.
Yeah.
I'm real excited to see what I can do with Chosen now.
Was that the thwomp?
No.
Here's a good... Okay. Real talk.
Yeah.
What does a melta-gun sound like in your minds?
No, it sounds like the goo spraying. I always imagine it's goo.
Like, dude...
Yeah, that's
I still thought it was that.
Yeah.
See, I always thought it was like a heat wave.
I mean, we talked about the hairdryer thing the other day, and that sounds the most plausible. I like that one.
I get that that's probably what it sounds like, but just something about it being like
just hot goo.
Hot goo just sounds so much more entertaining to me.
Yeah, I'm in love with the new combi weapons, especially as an orc player too. It's not just shoot my combi rocket and just hope it does something on a 5-up.
Yeah.
These wasted points.
You have a combi weapon, it's like, oh, I'm only gonna pull this one trigger and shoot this one thing. It's
and
like, no, you're gonna pull both. You're gonna hit it.
Combi flamers automatically hit because they're flamers, so it's just like, I'm gonna do an extra flame template in addition to shooting with more bullets.
Okay, that seems appealing to me, actually.
Yeah, because now you're not rolling to hit, so that negative isn't gonna matter to you. Yeah. You're not gonna care.
So I'm super excited about that. And then they also showed the new battle cannon.
I wouldn't call it love-hate. I have a hate-hate relationship with anything that has D6 random hits or D6 random wounds, but the battle cannon kind of changed my opinion on that. So you get D6, D3 damage. It's just random enough to, capture the essence of, is my artillery going to hit? And at the same time, it does enough reliable damage to where it's like, I don't feel bad about taking a tank.
Yeah, and you got to imagine you're firing a big ass shell a huge distance. There's a chance you're gonna miss. That's just something that happens.
You might hit dead on. Just the shrapnel and stuff just doesn't hit the guy. Like,
it's like, but whatever. I mean, you don't have to worry about these templates scattering off. You're always gonna get at least a hit now.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. You're not gonna have that small template. It's 4 inches over and missed everything.
And it's going to do D3 damage on top of that. And let's realistically talk about that. The average on that is 3.5 for a D6, like a true D6. And then the average on the D3 is going to be 2.
So three hits at 2 wounds apiece.
So realistically, that each shot with that is 7 wounds. If I'm doing the math right.
That's almost a dead tank. That's a dead character.
Depending on how many wounds they start putting on vehicles and stuff like that. I mean, we're talking a lot of damage.
Yeah. So that's fine. And you play guard. You're going to have like 50 of them anyway.
Yeah.
Jesus. Stop complaining about it.
Oh, and you get your heavy weapons with it on top of that.
Yeah, and it's just -1 to shoot him. It's not just like, well, I guess I'll choose my ordnance. It's like, no, you can shoot everything.
Yeah, you can just move your tank and then unload it.
I still maintain this is going to be a great addition for heavy bolters.
We have all the some profiles for close combat weapons that are actually a little interesting, like the power weapons. Power weapons are pretty cool.
Oh man!
Oh, the sword, maul, and axe.
Yeah, each of them still maintains their own identity. The power axe gets 1 strength with -2 AP. The power maul gets +2 strength with -1 AP. The power sword gets strength user with -3 AP. Somebody actually made a chart of all the times that you would use a power sword versus the power axe, and it's a pretty big dead heat. I think the power axe has the upper hand in like 2 situations.
Well, I'm going to be putting the power axe on any character that I have that has at least three attacks or more.
I mean, it looks cool, so it's like, why not?
Well, it's like I already have it modeled on half my guys anyways. Yeah.
Well, my thing is, like, if you're going to be rocking a squad sergeant with 1, maybe 2 attacks, then in my mind you want those 1 or 2 attacks to really count as much as they can. So it's like, okay, we'll take the sword, we'll load up on as much rend as we can, really hurt somebody. If you're rocking a character that has 3, 4 attacks, in my mind you want to maximize the amount of wounds that you're getting, and so having that little extra strength bump with your axe, that's a huge help. And -2 rend is nothing to scoff at. Like, if I'm in a Terminator
-2 rend's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking Terminators, they have a 4-up save. If we're talking standard infantry, they might not even get one. one.
4-up save is never a save I want to make on a Terminator.
We've seen it with Storm Shields with the 3-up is even more unreliable than you would want it to be.
I remember when Storm Shields used to be a 4-up. I want to say in I think 6th edition is when they switched it to 3-up. But I rocked Storm Shield Thunderhammer Terminators when I played Space Wolves, and it's not fun. Like you're never confident about it.
Force weapons are literally just power weapons now that do multiple wounds, which is kind of cool. We haven't seen profiles for them yet, so they'll probably do other stuff in addition, like instant death, because it's a fucking force weapon. Maybe it'll do like mortal wounds. But yeah,
it could.
Who knows?
Maybe something like that.
But yeah, they're kind of trimming the fat a little bit, making them sort of like an enhanced other thing because not everybody gets them. That'll be really cool. I'm excited for my librarians.
Or my librarian Dreadnought.
Yeah, that too.
Whatever.
Be cool. Old D weapons are likely to do lots of wounds.
I think they're going to be laying down enough wounds to account for the amount of the wound bloat that the new monstrous creatures and vehicles are going to be getting.
The one that they specifically referenced was the Reaper Chainsword on the Night Titan, and that just does a flat 6 damage for each wound,
which is insanity.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm really excited for the. I want to see a profile for the Avatar Arcane. I want that to kind of be like my litmus test for like how scary is something.
How scary is something going to be?
So you remember how in last podcast I had talked about the Power Fist? And how it's just like, oh my god, Power Fist, that initiative, this is amazing.
Yes.
Well, they did something to make it so that you can actually not have a Power Fist flying at you at full initiative.
Aww.
It's not a no-brainer.
No, it's not as simple as that. It's -1 to hit with it because it's a giant fucking fist.
Yeah.
But it's still strength times 2, it's AP -3, and it does D3 damage. So it's just like, it is still really cool.
That's pretty solid. And the fact that, -1 to hit, you'll probably see that on a lot of Space Marine champions and stuff, where it's like they're normally going off at a 3+ or a 2+, and it just gets bumped up to a 3.
Yeah, I mean, either way, it's, you still hit on a 4.
Yeah.
That's still pretty damn good.
Times 2 strength, if you're, Space Marine, strength 4, you're going to be hitting strength 8, which means you're going to be instant killing anything that's tough 3, tough 4, because it's double the strength.
There's no instant death anymore. It's not.
No, I'm sorry. What was if you doubled, the strength was double the toughness.
Oh, strength's double toughness.
That's what it was.
We'll get into that.
Okay.
We got that on here. We'll get there.
I didn't read your notes. I came over, had coffee, and we hit record.
It's okay.
Just look at your notes.
I know. Just enjoy the ride. Yeah. Okay, I saved this one for last just because I know there are some divided opinions.
Yeah.
The Chainsword.
I'm the most excited about the Chainsword.
The Chainsword.
Everything that they've released so far.
Each time the bearer fights, it can make 1 additional attack with this weapon.
That's huge.
Yes, but it's still strength user, no AP, 1 damage.
Okay, so this is what I'm perceiving with this. So the fact that the extra attack is built into the Chainsword. First off, if every standard melee weapon doesn't have this, that is to say, if orcs, if the run-of-the-mill orc special weapon,
Choppa.
Like the Choppa doesn't have that, suddenly the Chainsword is worthwhile. I know you, Eric, feel like it's just kind of breaking even at the moment. Mm-hmm. I think when you pair the fact that it can, you can shoot your pistol in close combat in addition to your 2 attacks, or let's say you want to take your spiffy new combi weapon, you can do that and still get your extra attacks with the Chainsword.
That's true. I didn't really think about that.
So I feel like it opens up more doors for you. It gives you more versatility in how you're going to be hitting at your sergeants. And then, your basic troops that can run around with Chainsword, because I know your Carcharodons and stuff, that's what they typically do. Mm-hmm. My Chaos Marines, like, in my mind, I would never, just run around with guys that had Chainswords and bolt pistols. They either had the bolter in addition to that or just the bolter. Now all of a sudden I have dudes that are, laying down 3-4 attacks in addition to shooting their pistols in close combat. That's huge.
5 guys laying down 10 attacks.
Exactly.
That's a lot.
And the Chainsword might not have AP, but your pistol does. Does a bolt pistol have a rend on it?
Bolt pistol doesn't have a rend.
Doesn't have a rend on it?
It's just a flat extra.
Regardless, you're making your opponent roll a lot of dice, and that's how you kill things. Doesn't matter how good their save is if you make them roll 100 dice.
I personally feel like that extra bonus is what's going to make assault armies stand out against non-assault armies. Like, okay, orc choppas are probably going to have something similar, but you're not going to see Eldar running around with the extra attack on their Chainswords. They'll probably be getting a strength bonus, and that's it.
Yeah, strength, or maybe like a to-hit bonus of some sort, because they're so quick, whatever. something along those lines.
But, the Tau, forget it. They'll have nothing like that.
I'm going to have my ceremonial dildo, and I'm just going to flap you with it.
There you go. Oh, don't touch me.
Just, I'm going to poke you.
To me, it just kind of leans into where we were talking about the last time, where it's just like, maybe this is just kind of going from a step to the side. It just depends on how easy it is to get into combat and how relevant that's going to be.
I feel like you just don't appreciate subtlety. Mr. I have to have my chapter tactics.
I guess. Well, we'll touch on that too. I got that written down. So one of the biggest parts that everybody's talking about are the new Primaris Marines.
Oh, yeah.
And I know some people love them, some people hate them. I'm just going to list off a couple quick little facts about it, and then we can go straight into it. They have a new bolt rifle, which is a 30-inch. It's a pulse rifle. It's a Tau pulse rifle.
It's just a pulse rifle.
30 inches, rapid fire 1, strength 4, -1 AP. That's actually pretty good.
-1 AP. I'm going to say it once. I'm going to say it again. Anything that has negative AP is going to be a big deal.
It is a standard Marine across the board, except it has 2 wounds and it makes 1 extra attack.
They are troops, though, right?
I mean, that's what the Codex troop symbol is. So if they keep their symbols the same, then yes, it would be a troop choice.
They're going to have multiple classes of them. So that means that we'll get a hero, probably, realistically. More than likely getting Assault Marines for them, Devastators, and there will be a Dreadnought. And the reason why this is so heavily... The Dreadnought, I believe they came out and just said there's going to be a Dreadnought. Because why not?
I do love my Dreadnoughts.
And then it's believed that the new starter box, which is the new Plague Marines versus Marines, is going to be Plague Marines versus Primaris Marines. Okay. And in those pictures, you can see Assault Marines and you can see Devastators.
Those boxes do usually tend to come with 1 HQ.
From a fluff standpoint, I kind of like them. I think it took a little bit of we never really talked about this, but this was going on the entire time. So I think it's a little silly, but at some point they've kind of written themselves into a corner and they're trying to explode out of it. So they're going to take some liberties to kind of do whatever they want.
Yeah, when I was reading those rules and I was kind of seeing they have to make a change. They're kind of in a position where any change that they make is either going to go hard against the fluff that they have or they're going to try to work it into what they have. And it seems like they're going with the second option and they're just trying to work things in such a way where it's like, hey, it's a big galaxy, we're just looking over here now.
As far as taking care of this in a tactful manner, I think they've done that. They didn't just write new fluff. They did kind of take pre-existing material and expanded on it.
It's just annoying when it's just like, okay, 10,000 years ago, Guilliman was talking to Belisarius Call, and he's like, hey, I need you to make me super soldiers, and Call was like, yeah, okay, I can keep that a secret for 10,000 years.
Of course.
And then he's just like, okay, I'm awake now, and Call's like, let me bring you to your army.
Let me go take a look in the oven. We'll see if
did anybody else kind of get the Clone Wars vibe?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. It's like, oh, you didn't place this order for a giant standing army that you would need at this exact point in time?
No.
Well, I'll use it anyway.
Yeah. But I guess I'll use this.
If no one else is going to eat it, I'll eat it.
And it's kind of nice that GW, at least they're like, here's these new things that we're giving you, and everyone's going to be able to have them, because part of the Indominus Crusade is Guilliman going through and going to all of the chapters and just being like, here's this new shit, I'm going to teach you how to do it, and then I'm going to go back out there and I'm going to kick Chaos's ass.
I really hope they write about instances in the fluff where there are some chapters that are reluctant to accept it. Like the first one that came to mind for me was the Red Scorpions, because their whole deal is, they're genetically pure and they're super proud of it. How are they going to react to having these, new super soldiers coming in? Is it like, okay, these are more perfect than we are, of course we'll accept it, or is it going to be like, no, these are gross perversions of everything that we've tried to maintain over the years? Heck no, we're not going to take these. I'm interested in seeing that, how that pans out.
They've been doing a pretty good job with fluff lately. Some of it's a little like low-hanging fruit, I guess I want to say. It's not very extravagant.
Well, we're talking about a really tropey,
Yeah, and I can only hope for so much, but I haven't been like, and then rolled my eyes really hard yet.
Yeah.
So
it's not like Matt Ward's writing.
No, it's not like the Grey Knights.
Don't worry about it.
Fuck you, man. Micah, do you have any other opinions?
I will say that after looking at their rules, I'm curious to see what they end up doing with other armies that already had elite models. So, like, for the Blood Angels, the Sanguinary Guard, they've always been touted as being, like, above the rest of the Marines sort of deal. So I'm curious to see if they bring them closer in line with these Marines or how they work that in.
I don't think so. I think it's two separate things.
No. I'm saying it's two separate things, but I'm just saying like rule-wise, not fluff-wise or anything like that, but just like rule-wise, you know, these Marines are obviously better than your rank-and-file tactical and stuff like that.
Oh, power's back on.
So, power's back on. That's
Yay.
Nice.
If I'm being honest, I don't see what strategic merits there are for keeping both types of Marines in your army. Primaris Marines are just subtly better in such a way as to where they can justify it'll cost more. I don't think it'll be so grossly overcosted that people won't be able to make entire armies of just Primaris Marines. Like I feel like what's going to happen is people are just going to gradually switch over to only running Primaris Marines.
I will say that because we haven't mentioned Age of Sigmar yet, and I figured, 25 minutes into this, we might as well. In Age of Sigmar, there's a lot of models, like for the Seraphim, where you have, you know, what used to be the Elite Guard, and then you had like your rank-and-file Lizard, and the big difference was you could take 10 of the regular guys or 5 of the specialist guys, and I feel like that's how these Marines are going to work. You'll probably bring 5 of these guys for the cost of 10 tactical Marines, and now you're thinking, okay, same amount of points, now which one is better if you're getting 10 of the tactical Marines? I don't think it'll be as straightforward a decision, picking one or the other. 5 of them might actually outweigh 10 tacticals.
Makes it easier for people to get into the hobby too if you only need 5 Primaris Marines to make a full squad. It's like,
especially if you need, you know, depending on how, you know, organization works out, if you only need to bring 2 troop choices, you buy 10 of these guys and boom, you're done.
Well, they're going to be limited on weapons from what we can tell. There's some pictures of them holding plasma, but they're like weird looking plasma. I swear that in one of the pictures I can just barely see the barrels of what looks like some type of flame weapon. Like it has the tubes going into the tip, but you just barely see it over some shoulders. So I think they'll get special weapons. I don't think they'll get heavy weapons, but that's just speculation.
They are heavy weapon.
Yeah.
They are the heavy weapon.
Yeah, right. Next part is tactical reserves. No more null deployments.
Yeah, this...
How do you guys feel about that? You a little upset?
Well, as the Eldar and Dark Eldar player...
Yeah.
So, one of my favorite things to do with Dark Eldar, which was also one of the hardest things to pull off, was getting turn 2, keeping my entire army in reserve, and then depending on all of my guys deep striking in from the web wide, just screaming hell. And that was always a really fun way to do it. It was always very interesting. It was super risky, but it was something you could do. Where now in the new rules, you have to keep half of your army on the board. Now it's like, okay, I can only keep so many units in reserve. So it is going to kind of mess with a little bit how I played Dark Eldar, where on the flip side, my Tau, I don't give 2 shits about it. It is going to depend on what army you're playing, but at least for my Dark Eldar, it is going to kind of change how I would have liked to play them.
I played my Eldar the exact same way, and it was my plan to start amassing Swooping Hawks to kind of expanding on that idea. That's fine. I have plenty of stuff that, you know, warrants being on the ground at the beginning of the game, so I'll be able to live with the Eldar having to be on the table for once. The one thing that I am a little bit disappointed about is the way I play my Word Bearers. I was actually very pleased when I would go against somebody that would do a null deployment because of the sheer volume of bodies that I was putting out with cultists. It's like, okay, you want a deep strike in? All right, I'm not going to give you any safe place to land and spread everything out.
Yeah, that was always hard for me. Because it was like, cool, I have to deep strike in the middle of the board. I might as well have just started on the board.
I mean, that's not to say I won't have my little moments like that, because people, you know, Space Marine players are going to take their drop pods, and it's like, yeah, you know, you can go in the middle of the board, or this nice little patch of open land that I left you can go ahead and put like 2 dudes there so I can just converge on them. But, you know, hey, the game isn't meant to be played that way, so...
Yeah, I get it. I get that when this game was created, it wasn't meant to be like, hey, I'm not going to put anything on the board and I'm just going to kind of come screaming in from the sides. Outflanking was getting kind of out of hand. I see what they're doing. I understand why they're doing it. It's the first thing I've read from the releases that I was kind of upset about at face value. After thinking about it, I can see what they're going for, but at face value was the first thing I was like, oh, this is going to influence how I play the game.
The puppy who lost his way.
All right.
As a Salamander player, I was a little upset because now I can't just drop pod my whole goddamn army in on turn 1. That was a lot of fun. I liked doing that. But now it just means I'm going to be taking Rhino. And I'm a little mad that I bought a Dreadnought drop pod.
Oh, I mean, I'll take it.
No. You could do, like, okay, here's 4 squads of scouts and everything else is in drop pods.
Okay, well,
I don't understand why you wouldn't be able to roll with your drop pods the way you like to, Erik.
I could still, it's just I kind of am more excited about Rhinos this edition.
Okay.
So it's basically for every unit you have on the board, you can have a unit in reserve.
But I think that doubles, too, because a drop pod is a unit.
You've got a Rhino on the field with a tactical squad inside of it, so you can have a drop pod with an elite, with Stern Guard in it in reserve. That's 2 and 2, so that's half.
If drop pods do take up an extra choice, then I think they're going to have some kind of crazy incentive on it to make it worth taking.
They very well might.
It can deep strike and not mishap. What the fuck else do they need? I'm dropping in a Venom, armor 10. It explodes as soon as it hits the battlefield, and all the guys inside of it die in a fiery wreck.
Well, Micah, you gotta understand, Space Marines are little babies, and they need to be protected. You know, they need people to hold their hands, and they have to be safe.
Another one of those interesting things, too, is with deep striking and all that, you always have to be 9 inches away. So I can't put my drop pod directly on top of a unit that I want to fuck with, and then have it correct itself to right next to the unit safely anymore.
Well, yeah, you mean you have to think about where you put
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have to consider it now. So instead of being just right where I want it to be, it has to be 9 inches away from an enemy.
Will drop pods still scatter?
We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Because if we're getting rid of templates, we would still have to keep a scatter dice around with us for deep strike.
I would think that they just wouldn't anymore.
They just wouldn't.
They'd either come in or they just won't streamline it, but who knows?
If you take deep striking and you say no one scatters anymore, they just have to be 9 inches away, that's insanity.
Well, that's precisely what they do in Age of Sigmar. My dwarves and their tunneling, you know, they know exactly where they're coming up. It's 9 inches away from
the hammer strike.
Yeah, my hammer strike, brother. I mean, I got look at that.
Yeah, the Dark Eldar's Webway portal has always been like the bread and butter of most Dark Eldar lists I run, and a lot of lists that I've seen online, because you got your perfect deep strike. You got your unit exactly where they needed to be, no rolling involved. So it's going to change a lot. Like, I can put my unit of, stealth suits or whatever exactly behind a tank that I need to blow up.
You know, now that you mention it, just about every unit in the Eldar Codex, 7th edition Eldar Codex, the deep strikes, either deep strikes perfectly or has a formation where it deep strikes perfectly or has a war gear that lets it deep strike perfectly.
Exactly.
The only thing I can think of that doesn't is the Wraith Knight.
Now, one of the things that I am super jazzed about is the new rules for large models, like large vehicle walkers and creatures and stuff like that.
What specifically?
They are adapting the more wounds you take.
Oh, yeah.
The less you move, the less you can get attacks, the less damage you do.
I wonder if the itty bitty, the dreadnoughts and the war walkers are going to be subject to the same thing, or if it's just going to be like you're fine or you're dead.
Big stuff, really.
Yeah.
Either that, or I think they get slower.
Anything like that, I'd probably not be subject to it, but it's really nice seeing, because if you got a giant tank and it has a bunch of fucking holes in it, it's probably going to move slower. It's probably going to shoot less efficiently. It has a giant fucking hole in it.
Or Carnifexes won't move as quickly. Or
I'll
get less attacks with them. Or
I got shot and I'm tired now.
The Exocrines won't get as many shots. Or the Dimacharon won't move as fast and get less attacks. And that was one of the things they specifically said, is that depending on what unit it is, they'll have different negatives as they get weaker.
Yeah, so most vehicles will probably move slower. Most monstrous creatures
shots.
will probably have less attacks.
Yeah, and that's just representing, they're getting worn down by battle. The crews are getting shell-shocked or whatever, so they're not moving as quickly to reload guns. And
it's going to make alpha strikes really scary.
Mid-list's a little different, because you're going to have to really bubble wrap the hell out of your creatures to get them closer.
Yeah.
You got to be more careful with how you move your guys. You can't just throw them up the field knowing that they're going to get there and then just let them wreck through a line.
I really like that rule from Age of Sigmar. I thought it was really characterful and flavorful, so I'm pretty pumped.
Again, all I can think of is, what's the Avatar Arcane going to look like? It's like, I'm a god, I don't get tired. Ooh. In my, very particular headcanon, it makes sense to me that it would never get tired, but let's be real here.
After he's taken 2 wounds, he can no longer use his sword. He has to fist fight everyone.
He has to lie down and
fist fight everyone.
Guys.
He's a weapon master, but after 2 wounds, he just can't hold his weapon anymore.
How many fingers do you have? How many wounds have you taken? Oh, well, you can't hold your weapon anymore.
You can't hold your sword anymore. That sucks.
Ah, dang it. Scaling it back down a little bit, the smaller miniatures, everything has split fire.
That's special.
That's very fun.
That's pretty special.
I can throw my multi-meltas into stuff that I actually want to, and I can blast everything else with bolters. I don't have to worry about having to commit bolters to shooting at tanks or anything.
Oh my god, or Dark Eldar loading up a boat with a bunch of special weapons and then being able to shoot all the splinter weapons at a creature and then throw all the lances into a vehicle.
I have the printout for the new wound chart here, which looks really cool. It plays into the whole anything can wound anything, and it's really easy to remember.
I don't think it looks cool. I think it's efficient, but the old wound
efficiency is cool.
It doesn't look cool though, Eric.
That is the strength twice or more. It gets the 2 up. Okay.
I like tables and charts and graphs and all of those things that I get in my old ancient rule books for AD&D and things like that. But I do agree that this is effective to a point where it's going to take a lot of hemming and hawing out of playing.
I really enjoy the simplicity of it. That's all we really have on small infantry. But characters are also moving the way of Age of Sigmar in that they can't join units. I was a little like, oh, what? But then when you realize that they're trying to can Death Stars...
It is a big nail in the Buffmander coffin.
But one of the things that they're getting, for that nerf, they are having characters play more of a role than just being a fucking beat stick. Which is really cool.
You're going to see some really awesome Ultramarine captains that are just dripping with tactical assets.
Yeah, or the one thing that I keep thinking of is just like a bunch of Crusader squads running up the field, and there's a chaplain behind him, and you totally know there's going to be a command ability that it'll just spread to friendly units within 12 inches.
Yeah.
Or he'll nominate a unit for something, and I could just see him urging them on as they're just driven by bloodlust, just revving their chainswords and just getting a million attacks.
Oh, the Blood Angel chaplains too, running around with Death Company. There's gonna be something along those lines because they've always had rerolls to hit and to wound. That was the big deal with Death Company, and then bringing their chaplains.
I cannot wait to see what Dark Apostles look like.
It'll be really cool.
And just the way that they're talking about doing chapter tactics and things like that. I just know it's like, okay, you'll have your run-of-the-mill Dark Apostle, and it's like, hey, this is the Word-Bearer Dark Apostle. He does X, Y, and Z better than the standard one. I feel like there's ways to make the generic characters that are better represented in particular Space Marine legions, and there's ways to make them shine better. Like you do get your special Black Templar chaplain, or your crazy Blood Angel.
It's just you succumb to the Black Thirst and the red rage and whatnot. So you know what? Go kill people.
Yeah.
Go keep going forward and kill people.
So in not being able to join squads, you'd think that that sucks. Nobody can protect them, but that's not true because enemy units cannot shoot at characters if there's another unit closer, because one lone dude in the battlefield is not nearly as threatening as like the 20 Khorne Berserkers charging you down. And also snipers are actually going to be a little bit more relevant finally, because
it's like, hey, that guy looks important.
Sniper rifles will actually be able to target characters.
His helmet's colored a different color. Maybe we should
shoot the white helmet in the sea of red helmets.
I can see that little smirk on your face thinking about your sniper drones. Ooh.
Yeah. The Tau sniper drones are probably one of my favorite units out of the Tau book, and debatably the most worthless in the old book, outside of like Vespid. I don't know why you would ever bring Vespid.
What are Vespid?
Don't worry about it. I don't own any. To put it in perspective, I got easily over 4,000 plus points of Tau and no Vespid. It'll be really cool having snipers be relevant again, because I think we touched on it in the last podcast, but I fucking love snipers. I ran Blood Angels, the we're gonna murder your face army of the Space Marines, and I would still take scouts as a troop choice just because I fucking loved having a sniper unit. I think it's the coolest thing. So the idea that they're useful, not to say useful again, because they've always had uses, but you can just, there's a character that kill him. Shoot everything into that one guy. It's going to make, charging up your line of cultists with your Dark Apostle. It's hey, charge my front line as much as you want, but as soon as your Dark Apostle's in range, I'm going to scoop his brain out. So that'll be really fun. Like, I can
appreciate, like, from a narrative point, like, you got a Dark Apostle who's, like, so into himself and so chock full of himself, and he gets taken out by a sniper round, like...
Yeah, or even if you start thinking something more specialized, like the Harlequin's Death Jester. Single model, but he is
bet your bottom dollar he's gonna know how to shoot the important guy.
He is gonna know how to shoot the character in the head. So that, I'm ecstatic. I think that's gonna be amazing.
Just see a Death Jester running around like 360 no scope.
Now, Ian, bringing it back to your Dark Apostle, with his really pretty power maul, that you love so much.
Oh, of course.
No, he's walking around the battlefield, right?
Yeah, he's feeling good, feeling sassy.
He's got one. He's just one guy though.
Yeah,
and there's this big old unit that's coming down on him, and it's like, oh man. He's got to fight that, right?
Yeah.
He's not.
Chaos gods say he has to accept challenges.
I mean, he's not going to fight it though.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
What's
because he just dies. So he's going to have his boys go in, rough him up, and then he's going to pile in and get in the fight with the new heroic intervention rule. So if you build these big beat stick units, you're still going to be able to fight with them, and effectively. It's not like you don't just have to throw a dude into combat. You don't have to throw your cool ass. So you don't have to throw Gabriel Seth into combat by himself, Micah.
Oh, thank God.
So he's not just going to be like, Rampage is good. I got this.
Yeah, you got this.
Yeah,
you got this, Gabe.
How many boys I got to kill? How many boys?
It's going to be kind of nicer because you can have your unit of Assault Marines just kind of run in and tag in. And then Gabriel Seth, if he's within certain inches, he can just pile in and then just fight too, in addition to that.
If Gabriel Seth is within 3 inches of an enemy model, he starts swearing at them.
If he's within 2 feet of an enemy model, he kills them. He's a bad boy.
Yeah, it'll be nice having that rule, especially for Dark Eldar and Eldar, where most of our characters are tough 3 and squishy, but super killy. Well, now I'm not afraid to throw my Archon into combat. He can go in. Let's do it. Let's get him in there and start swinging because he's going to cut people down. The only issue ever was, we're just going to kill him.
Yeah.
We're just going to put everything into him and kill him. So that'll be really cool.
So we won't have to worry about that. We can actually run our characters and they can actually do what we'd like them to do, which I'm super jazzed about.
Which goes back to why I think snipers are going to be so important.
Yep.
Because I'm going to fucking shoot him right in the head as soon as I see him.
Yeah, I don't own a single unit of snipers, but I think once the new edition drops, I might.
I love my snipers.
Vehicles, we talked about it a little bit before, but there was a couple things that we need to kind of go over. You can see here that I have the Annihilation Barge all printed up.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. They're treated literally like regular models, which is so neat. Like, they can advance like a regular one, so you can double move. So some of them are moving 12 inches, now they're moving 24 inches. So
which makes total sense. If you kick in the gas, it's gonna move.
Yeah, it's like turbo boosting jet bikes or something.
One thing that I didn't consider until just recently, the fact that it has the movement profile built into it. You don't have to reference back. It's like, okay, what does a fast model do? What does a skimmer do?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's fantastic.
I'm on a flat open road. That's like what? That's an extra 6 inches, isn't it? Or
no.
Okay. No, that's only Cities of Death, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And touching back on that too, they still get -1 to hit with heavy weapons if they move. Everything's staying consistent. There's none of that extra bloat that you guys were
which is going to be great with Ravagers.
Yeah.
Because Ravagers the whole time move 6. They got 3 guns. Shoot them all full ballistic skill. Move them 12. You got to shoot 2 regular, 1 snap shooting. So now being -1, that's big. Now I'm being on force.
As someone that's a firm believer in using vehicles to ram other people, it makes my dark and bitter heretical heart beat a little bit faster when I see that vehicles have a weapon skill.
And they can charge.
And that's super fucking cool.
Orc Death Rolla supremacy.
Death Rollas. You got the Dark Eldar with their rams.
Your battle barges, dude.
I can play Interstellar bumper cars again. Woo! Fucking love Interstellar bumper cars.
And and they can also hold more than 1 unit. They'll still have the maximum amount of dudes that can fit in it, but I have a Rhino. I can put 2 Devastator squads into it.
Oh my god. I can put like
8 grav cannons.
Also, open-top vehicles, units inside can shoot their pistols in close combat.
Extra incentives to take open-top vehicles, too.
There's actual reason to take pistols as opposed for something other than just getting an extra attack. Points and power level. Power level is going to be part of the, not the narrative play, but the other one, where it's just like, I want to play a quick game, so I'm going to add all these small numbers up, and then we're going to just bang one out. It'll be kind of neat. Everything has a power level on their unit profile, but they don't list the points. That's just going to be referenced somewhere else in the book. I'm sure it's going to be like a big old chart in the very last page like they do with the...
This is how many points this is worth, and that's that.
Yeah, and that'll just be what they do for the Age of Sigmar books and everything too. And I'm sure they'll make it available some other way. But I thought that was interesting. I think those PowerPoints are not including the upgrades and everything. So it's just like, it's just a flat this.
Exactly. It's if you didn't want to play, a really intense game, you wanted to stay more fluffier, more narrative in how you were putting it together, here's a couple of points, kit everybody out exactly how you want them to. Let's just have a good time.
One thing I think of is in the shops, if it does indeed make the list writing process quicker, you got your black shirts running the show at the local GW, and when a new guy comes in, it's like, hey, it's not just here's the dudes you get to play with. It's like, let's make an army list real quick, and then I'll teach you how to play this game.
Yeah, you get little new models coming in, and it's just like, let's throw down right now.
Yeah. I just want to see what this does. So let's just put it on the table, fully upgraded, and just slap each other around.
Because when kids go in, they're just like, I just want to make something cool, and they put all the special weapons on all the guys.
Not that we're going to do that, because we're adults, and we play the adult version of Warhammer.
Play by the rules. Data sheets are very similar to the way Age of Sigmar is kind of shaping up, so they're really easy to reference and everything. It's gonna be, I'm assuming it's gonna be like the download ones like you can do for all the Age of Sigmar ones, and it'll just be on the profile, and you'll just go into downloads and just download the PDF.
I really hope so.
And they're totally going to have an app too, and then War Scroll Builder. Thank you, War Scroll Builder.
War Scroll Builder, you're the best.
We'll probably do a 40k version of that too. I don't see why they wouldn't. They did such a fantastic job with the AOS one. Detachments, I think we touched on detachments last time a little bit.
Yeah.
There's been a couple new ones that have come out, like the super heavy one. So it's just like, hey.
All my Lord of Wars.
Yeah, it's just, I can see what they wanted to do. It's like, oh man, we got to let these knight armies still play. And it's like, well, do one for five Lords of War, and it's like, okay, and then us are just like, I don't want to fight against 5 Wraith Knights.
When are you ever gonna have enough points to throw down against something like that if you're not bringing all of your 5 big models?
I don't know. Well, I mean, what if I'm not bringing 5 big models, and they're just like, this is my super competitive. This is my casual list. It's 3 Taunar Supremacy Armors.
Okay, so you would willingly go through with that?
No, I probably wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't.
I'd start setting up, and then they'd say that, and I'd be like, you know what, man, fuck you, and I'd pack it away.
But this is why we talked about in the last podcast why we don't just play with randos.
Yeah.
We don't want to deal with that garbage.
Well, I don't know. I've never personally experienced something like that where I've gone to the shop and like, okay, yeah, I think like the worst is I've encountered flyers at 500 points or, things that are scummy, but it's not like...
Hey, Micah, don't bring your flyer. Why would you bring your flyer at 500 points? Okay, Erik, we throw down. He has his flyer. You fucking asshole.
I got you.
But I've never gone against somebody who's like, yeah, I just brought my Tal list. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And then, just nothing but Riptides. It's like, that nobody does that.
I've never seen anything like that, but I have seen at the old GW when it was 2 dudes setting up for like a nice game, and one of them was super excited about playing, and he's talking to his opponent, and he's taking stuff out of his thing. And the guy's like, oh yeah, and I brought my Warhound, and he just sets it down, and the other guy's like, you know what, man, fuck you. And he just starts packing up, and he left.
It's just a Warhound. Yeah. It's just a Warhound. What are you worried about?
I don't know, but I mean, that was a long time ago. That was during the big store.
Oh.
But that was pretty sad. It was very cringe. They started releasing stratagems, so you can see what all of your command points do.
Yeah.
If you want to take a look at them, I can kind of talk about it for a moment.
Yeah.
So basically the way they work is you have your formations and you get points based on what you take. So depending on how fluffy you play, you get rewarded for it. And depending on what characters you take, like special characters, you can get more. Like Bjorn the Fell-Handed, oldest Space Marine in the entire Imperium.
I know a thing or two about fighting.
He gives you bonus command.
Are we talking about Dante?
What?
Are we talking about Dante?
No, Bjorn's older than Dante.
How do you know?
I know.
Bjorn...
How do you know?
Bjorn was there!
How do you know?
Because
he was there.
How do you know?
He saw Horus. He was like, "Don't do it, Horus." Horus is like, "I'm gonna do it." And Bjorn's like, "No, you don't."
I'm gonna fucking do it, Bjorn.
I'm gonna fucking do it, Bjorn. You can't stop me.
I'm gonna fucking commit heresy.
Horus, stop.
So by taking him, he's been around the block a couple times. You get bonus points, and those bonus points translate to getting to do fun things in your phases.
Yeah, so I got 1 command point, could be a command reroll, so you can get to reroll a single dice. 2, you can pass a single morale test.
Which I'm excited about that one. They cited a specific one where it's just like, okay, you got a unit of 30 boys and they just got crushed in the combat, and you're about to lose everything to morale. But you say no, you use your command point and they live.
And you can kind of tell, you're going to rack up a decent amount of command points if you're playing a bigger game, and you can very much tailor what you take to your specific force. So you could have mirror matches that are completely different based off of how people pick their command traits.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm too stupid to get this one, so hold
What's
on.
up?
What do you got?
So, counteroffensive. This stratagem is used right after an enemy unit that charged has fought. Select one of your own eligible units and fight with it next. That's just interrupting, say, like 3 units got into combat that turn. One of them swings, but then I immediately get to pick a unit that swings. Is that the goal of that?
Yeah.
I think, because then it's
Hold
still...
on a minute, it doesn't specify. All right.
Because it just says...
The stratagem is used right after an enemy unit that has charged
has fought.
Yeah.
So the unit has to charge and then fight. Then you get to pick one of your units and fight. So how charging is going to work in this edition is units that charge that turn get to fight first. Then it falls back on the Age of Sigmar style of picking unit and activating. What this is doing is it's letting you interrupt that after one unit has swung.
Oh, so if they do multiple charges,
if they do multiple charges, so say you charge, 2, 3 unit of boys in to like 3 different combats. One of your units swing. Now I get to interrupt you before the other 2 get to swing, and I get to swing.
There you go.
Yeah,
so it's going to force offensive players to think about what their opponent has and if they can pull that out.
And Eric's particularly offensive, so we'll take that against you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then also, some of the stratagems, there will be flavored ones. So Tyranids will have certain ones that they can kind of do that's just sort of fluffy in its own right.
They all get to run a lot.
Hey, if you kill a unit, you eat it, and you get your wounds back.
So something like that. Yeah. And it'll be cool. And then in addition, there will be the universal ones that everyone gets. So I'm sure that some will obviously be better takes than others, but it's really cool. In matched play, you can only use one, the same one, once per phase. So it's kind of limiting.
I can't just continually use the reroll one just over and over and over. Nope. I'm gonna hit you.
You can't burn
I'm
up all
gonna
your
hit you
stuff.
one of these days.
I purchased 8 rerolls. I'm gonna get the 6 wound. Fucking
exactly.
Oh, no Zinch power dice.
Fuck that.
No. Look at that.
Well, I mean, there might be. There
might be for Zinch. I guess that's different.
So now we're just kind of getting into the loose scraps that I've picked up. Those were my kind of formulated list. Now it's just everything that I picked up through the FAQs and all that. Mm-hmm. So psychic powers are selected from a list randomly, or you can just pick.
Be a man about it and roll those dice.
Yeah, it's.
I'm so. I love my direct damage spells.
Mm-hmm. I like buffs.
So the idea that you can take a librarian and know exactly what power he's going to have allows you to build lists and think of strategies that you can reliably do.
I think
there's no more, fuck, I really hope I get this psychic power for my Harlequins or I am up Schitt's Creek right now.
I feel like there's probably going to be certain powers that they're going to do away with. Like invisibility, in my mind, sticks out as something that's meant to be a reward. Like, hey, you were lucky enough to get invisibility. This power's really badass. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's going to be anything that's that strong.
I think if anything with invisibility, it's going to end up turning into some sort of debuff against hits against you. So instead of it being 6s, you need 6s to hit me no matter what. It's going to end up being something closer to, everybody shooting or swinging against you has a -1 to hit. It's still a good enough thing to consider bringing it and using it, but it's not going to be the fucking auto-include of all psychic powers.
Exactly. It's not going to be the only thing you'd want to...
It's not like I'm going to bring fucking 3 Farseers just because I really fucking want invincibility on at least one of them, and I'm going to roll 16 dice to make sure I get it.
Yeah.
Every time I've gotten invisibility, I have won. Every time.
It's too good for how 7th edition was.
Well, like the moment you feel safe, like running out into the open with Eldar, it's like, okay, I'm gonna take my invisible wraith cannons and move them forward.
They are saying that there will be some hangover from the old ones, and what I'm super excited about is that they're keeping Perils of the War.
You need to.
If you're gonna probe the galaxy, your brain might explode.
I was a little worried that when they basically said that it was all just going to be like what they do with AOS, that it just wasn't going to matter anymore, but I'm very happy that they did that. But they made it simple. You're not just going to lose librarians that get sucked into the warp or anything. They're just going to take mortal wounds.
Which is fluffy.
Yeah.
They're probing the galaxy and they get a strong anal fissure and
most librarians they only have like 3 or 4 wounds anyway. So I mean, there's a very real chance they could just die.
Yeah, if you are going to reckless abandon and start casting like crazy, there's a chance you're going to blow your brains up.
Yeah. Pete Foley on his Twitter confirmed that there will be chapter traits for Space Marines. So, yay. I'm excited.
Called it.
Yep. You heard it here. Well, you haven't.
You haven't.
Because we haven't put the other one up yet.
It's okay.
But we did. I swear we did.
Yeah. We did.
We didn't go back and edit it.
I am getting exactly what I wanted. Just enough characterful difference to say that is obviously a Blood Angel. That is obviously a Salamander. And that's all. That's what I wanted. I didn't want it to be some big deal. Just, hey, you get +1 to hit on the charge with Blood Angels. Great. That is enough for me to be like, I will bring Assault Marines, I will bring my Death Company. It's enough for me to build a list around.
So hopefully it's not some ridiculously overpowered thing, but...
fuck, I hope not.
I would just hate to see, like, okay, this Space Marine Legion is objectively the best, everybody's gonna run this.
And that's probably my biggest fear going into this, is them just being like, you know what? You know who's been looked down on a lot recently?
The Ultramarines.
The Ultramarines.
Yeah, everybody.
They got their Primarch back, but he's kind of a dick now. So this is where they get +1 to hit and to wound on everything.
Let's do something out of character. Let's throw the Ultramarines an old bone.
Let's give the Ultramarines another character.
Throw them a bone.
Let's give them another character.
Ultramarine players.
Got enough.
Christmas is coming early for you. You get
again and again.
But even then, it's just like whatever. I'm just excited that I'm gonna have my own little unique identifier for my salamanders, which makes me happy. And it's also pretty much cemented.
Does it make you feel good?
It will.
Makes you feel special.
It does.
Yeah.
I feel like a good boy.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much cemented my will to do salamanders as my 8th edition army. So
these loyalists are all a bunch of babies.
Yep. There's 2 things that I know you're definitely going to be excited about one of them, Ian. Okay, but the first one is Defenders allocate wounds. I'm so thankful for that. I am so sick of just charges getting neutered by Overwatch all the time.
Oh, that's really cool unit of Orc Boys you got charging my Tau gunline. Oh man, your 4-inch charge just became a 9-inch charge. Good fucking luck, loser.
Oh, man. That and it makes me feel a little bit safer about kitting out certain dudes because I can get rid of other guys before.
Yeah.
I can put flamers in the front.
I mean, it's always made sense
to me. You can have a sergeant having a decent weapon and not worry about him just getting sniped in the face.
Yep. When you could have him at the front because, like, naturally you want that guy to get into combat first.
Exactly.
And it's always made sense to me, like, if someone drops the Melt-A-Gun, someone else is going to pick that up.
The bolter guys are going to be like...
Oh man,
I'm not trained to pick that up. That's
the union.
It's not my union. That's a different union. That's the melting union. I don't want to touch that and get in trouble.
The Mechanicum comes down and then it's 1-0-1-1-1-0-1-1-1-1-0-1-1-1 and he's just like
I'll put it back down. I'm so sorry.
The one thing that I know that you're going to be a very happy boy about.
What's that?
They have confirmed that there will be no random turns.
Okay. Good. I understand to some degree they wanted to make it a little bit more volatile and unpredictable, but too many times have I lost because of the 2-turn swing.
It is game-changing.
Yeah. It's boring getting your shit kicked in 2 turns in a row. Like, for one turn, it's like, okay, this is how this game is meant to be played, but then they get to attack again. That's the only time where I break down and feel like crying like a little baby. I can't handle it.
That's the only time?
Only time. Only time.
Okay.
Name one other time, Micah. What have I, other than those times that I was actually...
Other than those times that you have actually cried. Yeah. So we're going to be wrapping it up pretty soon here, but Ian, you had something you wanted to bring up at the beginning.
Oh,
so
I still had one more thing.
Oh, you have one more thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I saw you put all your lists away, so it's like, oh, cool. Up here. Eric's finally fucking done.
So we're going to cut... Right there. That's where...
I'm not cutting it. We're keeping all this in.
Cut that out.
No.
Okay. One of the last things, it's the most recent thing that they've come out and said, and that is that they are going to have rules for Stronghold Assault, which is... It's going to be one of those newer game types that they're going to kind of bring out, and I'm super excited because this means that they're having different style missions and everything that we can all play. It's not just going to be like, go to that point.
In this game variant, the point is in a different spot.
And that is just so boring. But now it's just like, okay, the defender gets to set up in the citadel, and they are underpointed. The attacker has to try and take it from them, and they're charging it down, and it's like very clearly going for more narratives themed games. Mm-hmm. And I get really weird about not having the same point levels. I like armies being on the same footing, but the way they're doing it, it's looking
they're
like
offering you incentives to be the underdog.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about that.
When you first mentioned it, and you know how it maybe made you want to run Iron Warriors, just a bunch of million little scenarios started going off in my head. That's coming from a narrative standpoint. It's like, okay, why are the Word Bearers attacking the Iron Warriors? It's like, oh well, we heard that you're utilizing demons to power your tanks the wrong way, and well, we find that to be rather blasphemous. We're going to stack the corpses of our slaves up the walls to get to you, and we're going to kill you and take it from you. The stories kind of write themselves, and it's fun to think about, like, why are the Word Bearers coming to the fortress? Why are the Tau coming to the fortress?
You can get cool little fluffy narratives that we can work out between ourselves. We could run narrative battle reports and things like that.
Write a little short story about it afterwards.
Exactly. Do like 2-3 mission games where that's, the start of it or something like that, and it'd be a lot of fun.
They're making it more about playing the game as opposed to buying the game.
I don't know. I was really good at buying the game.
They're trying to make it as easy as possible for you to get used to just kind of coming up with your own little way of doing it.
You can write a story, because I know, so I don't have to tell you guys, but we've all come up with fun little scenarios and backstories and things like that. Now we're being given the tools to actually play those ideas out in our head. You got your crazy salamander captain dude, whatever the fuck his name is.
Obsidianatus?
Yeah, that fucker. And, you make a cool backstory for him. We can play that backstory out. Maybe he got his fame.
Oh, we could do the Dropside Massacre.
We could do the
Dropside Massacre.
It's so fucking cool.
Maybe he got his fame liberating some fortress from the Dark Eldar or some shit like that.
No, actually, his squad was one of the last remaining.
I don't care enough to ask you what it actually is.
He was one of the last on the
Put it on Reddit and I'll read it later.
And
I'll read it later.
His special name is the hammer that cracks the anvil, and he's...
I'm cutting all this out.
Oh.
I'm not letting you defend yourself. The idea that we can do something narrative and fluffy and make some shit up and show it to people.
I've always felt like kind of a tool if we homebrew too much. To me, it becomes pretend time when you do that too much, when you take too many steps outside of what the rules allow.
Coming from a background of like Dungeons & Dragons 3.5, being creative within the rules was always the most satisfying for me. Yeah. But being so stuck in that, and then...
Well, when you have the guy that comes to the table, it's like, I found this really cool prestige class on D&D Wiki. Can I use it?
Yeah. And then just...
It's like, no.
And then...
You net listing.
Going from that and then just being told to figure it out. There are tools for playing this the way that you really would like to play it outside of the way we have told you. And them kind of taking us out of the cave, sort of.
We're getting that with the 3 modes to play, having the one that's 0 points, some points, and all the points. So we're seeing them kind of shifting towards, just buy all of these models and just own them. We don't care what you do with them. And now they're like, hey, we're going to give you some cool stuff to do with them.
That's all I have.
Yeah. How are we doing on time?
We can keep going, because that's fine, because we're going to have to cut a little bit here and there. So you had one last thing you wanted to talk about. So
there Scott, please stop.
Okay.
There was
I'm leaving it all in.
Yeah, okay, fine. There was a leak. People are thinking it's going to be the next Loyalist Primarch, and it's a lion pelt, and everybody's going, oh, it's going to be Lionel Johnson.
Oh, yeah. On the rumor mill, that it's just a picture of the pelt head of a lion, very clearly draped over what's probably armor underneath it. It has that kind of bulge to it.
And, Mortarians coming out. Why wouldn't it be Lionel Johnson? Not so, say the tinfoil hat conspiracy people on the internet. You're all getting the wool pulled over your eyes. It's going to be Sanguinius. You see, my dad works for GW, and he told me that... He told me that they're retconning the fight between Horus and Sanguinius and the Emperor subsequently as a result of that, and Sanguinius lives. He's going to be in the 41st millennium to fight once again. The theory doesn't piss me off because the idea of bringing Sanguinius back, because Micah has pointed out time and time again, he's an angel.
He has legitimate wings. Why the fuck can't he...
Emperor magic brings him back to life.
His body's entombed in the golden sarcophagus on Baal. Of course they're going to be like, hey, wake up, and then fight the Tyranids.
You don't need to shit on Horus that hard.
It doesn't have to be anything against Horus, realistically. Yeah. It could legitimately just be, hey, you know what? They had his entire body. They put it in a sarcophagus of blood like they fucking love doing.
Yeah, we've been filling the sarcophagus with stem cells for 10,000 years. You think maybe he's fine now?
Just open it up. Close that back up.
10 more minutes.
Obviously, all of this is super rumor mill. I always had the theory in my head this entire time with the Sanguinar running around. Why wouldn't the Sanguinar also just be part of Sanguinius just coming back to help the Blood Angels? But now it seems like they're going to retcon it back to maybe Horus just didn't kill him as dead as he thought he did.
Yeah.
Or the Emperor, in all of his infinite wisdom, decided at that moment, you know what, I'm bringing you back.
Put my boy to bed, strap me in the chair.
It's like, you don't gotta retcon, Horus's victory. Horus was a colossal fuck up, so I would totally buy, he didn't get the job done right.
The Emperor was right there, and I guess at that time was at full strength. I mean, he would have had to beat Horus.
Sundering his soul from reality.
You would realistically think that the Emperor would have had it in him to prevent Sanguinius from dying.
I mean, you have perpetuals running around, so, being brought back to life is...
We got fucking Vulcan.
The groundwork is there.
We got Vulcan, I mean...
Spoilers, sorry everybody, sorry.
Vulcan lives.
Yeah. He lived.
But it's not the biggest stretch, and we've seen Primarchs starting to come back in 40k, either in demon form or in their weird robo-suit form.
But for the record, I think it's going to be Lionel Johnson.
Yeah, I think so.
I am surprised Sanguinius was even brought up. Only thing I was thinking of in 8th edition involving Blood Angels and Primarchs would be the fact that the Sanguinar would come out in some form or way to being like, hey, this is the spirit of Sanguinius. Or something like that. And they just bring its rules up to be more in line with a Primarch. Not actually a Primarch, but just his rules would be closer.
I think the way that this rumor has stemmed is just because in the picture of the model, it has that... Oh my god. I'm sure you guys can hear that. That's my dog barking at the door. She's very sad that we're in here. Thing that it's coming from is there's this picture of this big cat pelt, and everyone's just like, okay, it very clearly looks like a lion. But there are some people that are just like, no, look at this picture of Sanguinius, and it's the picture of him sitting on his throne, and he has the giant leopard pelt.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is with those rumor mill pictures is they never have them painted, so it's always just the gray plastic. So it's just like, feasibly, it could be some leopard pelt.
If they were to pull that out of their ass and actually do that, I would never believe it.
That's where the tinfoil hat's coming from.
It's like, oh, it's gonna be Sanguinius is coming back to life. Oh, Cypher's really Alfarius.
Yeah.
So, wait.
Oh.
That's where it's at. I think it's Lionel Johnson. I don't think there's any doubt to that.
I think it's gonna be Conrad Kurz.
Oh,
just being realistic here.
Oh, okay.
That's what's gonna be.
Well, I mean, what's stopping it from being a wolf pelt?
It doesn't look like a wolf.
What's stopping it from being a wolf pelt?
It doesn't. It looks like.
Well, it's okay. There are no wolves on Fenris.
It's just a skinned human.
It's just a skin. It's just a skin.
Lehman Russell's back, and it's like, hey guys, have you heard of this thing called corn? It's amazing.
What?
Oh no, Russ!
I would love it. I would run like full sprint back into the loving arms of the space.
Yes!
If they win chaos.
If they win chaos, oh yeah. If GW had the balls to take one of their most popular legions,
the literal snowflake,
and then set it on fire.
Burn, baby, burn. So with that big gob of fact to chew on, I think we might leave you guys with that. Any parting words we have for our listener?
Why haven't you based your models yet?
Yeah, seriously, get on that.
Get on that.
Oh, also, if you haven't invested in a display case yet, I highly recommend getting a display case.
Go to IKEA right now.
We're not sponsored by IKEA, but go to IKEA.
We're sponsored by display cases.
We're sponsored by display cases that we choose.
Yeah. We have discovered this new thing called glass.
It's really nice.
You can look through it.
And it keeps your models not dusty.
This podcast brought to you by Glass. With that, I'm Erik.
I'm your pal Ian.
It's Micah over here.
We're the Power Creeps, and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Good night. Put your dick away.
Oh.